Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? What's up, folks? Today is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. It is 100 days of the administration of the twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon con man in chief, Donald Trump. It has been an absolute mess. We'll tell you all of the shenanigans that have taken place. You will not believe that. Also, Trump signs a new executive order basically giving police the right to beat the hell out of black people, and they won't have to suffer any repercussions. Or we're going to break all of this down. We hear from former police chief and former Congresswoman Val Demings, also attorneys as well. Also, folks, Saquon Barkley, Philadelphia Eagles, talked about, why y'all mad at me because I rode on Air Force One and I played golf with Trump. Don't come at me with all this politics. Oh, I will come at you with some politics. How dumb is Peter Hegseth? He champions the canceling of a program that was signed into law by Trump the first time, and that actually was sponsored by 3 people in Trump's administration. I told y'all that boy is dumb. Justice Department halts a ton of federal grants, including many dealing with corruption as well as civil rights. Anybody shocked? No, not with the thugs of this administration. Folks, there's a lot we got to talk about. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funky.
100 days since the twice impeached, criminally convicted con man, felon-in-chief, absolute idiot has been in office, and he's getting failing grades in a variety of polls, even Fox News, and Lord, he ain't happy at that as well. Folks, check this out. A new PBS News NPR Marist poll, most Americans give him a failing grade. 45% of the U.S. adults, including 80% of Democrats and 49% of independents, rated Trump's return to the Oval Office an F. At the other extreme, 23%, including 54% of Republicans, give him an A. His 41% approval rating is the lowest for any newly elected Oval Office occupant at 100 days, dating back to Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now, the only thing Trump has accomplished in the first 100 days of his second term is signing a bunch of executive orders. We're going to get into those in a second. But according to the data from the American Presidency Project at the University of California, Santa Barbara, Trump has signed 142 executive orders. The previous record held was President Franklin Roosevelt, who issued 99 executive orders during his first 100 days in 1933, primarily to combat the Great Depression, according to the Roosevelt Institute. But, of course, it didn't take long for White House Press Secretary, that idiot Carolyn Leavitt, to just lie, and just hear a whole bunch of the lies she told last 100 days.
Today officially marks 100 days of promises made and promises kept by President Trump. This has truly been the most historic start to a presidency in American history. After building the greatest economy in the world in his first term as president, President Trump is in the process of doing that all over again. The American people trust in President Trump. Since his first day in office, President Trump has focused on defeating the Biden inflation crisis, bringing down the cost of living, and making the United States the best place in the world to do business, invest, create jobs, and innovate. And President Trump's efforts are working. 345,000 jobs have already been added since the start of President Trump's term. Last month's jobs report saw nearly 100,000 more jobs than economists predicted, and it was the fourth highest month for private payroll growth in the past 2 years. 9,000 manufacturing jobs have been added to the economy already. This is a sharp contrast to the 6,000 manufacturing jobs that were lost each month in the final 2 years of the Biden administration. The U.S. employment.
See, I can't just keep listening to bullshit. 6,000 lost a month in the last 2 years. Boy, you conveniently skipped them first 2 years, huh? I wonder why. Folks, what's so crazy is that we also see that his idiotic tariffs, the role that they actually play, and he knows he's screwing up. So what did the fool announce today? He's reversing course on some of the tariffs he imposed on imported cars and car parts. Car makers that pay, go to my iPad, come on. Car makers that pay a 25% tariff on vehicles will not be subject to other levies, for example, on steel and aluminum, and they will be able to qualify for relief on imported components for the next 2 years. See, let me explain to y'all why he's doing that, because, he keeps coming back with, I'm changing this, changing that. See, that's because the economy is tanking. In fact, the S&P 500 today closed its worst period. This worst in the first 100 days since the early 70s. I didn't hear Carolyn Leavitt talking about that. I didn't hear her talking about it. And now all of a sudden, he's claiming they've got a tariff trade deal with India. They keep saying how they negotiate with all these people, but they won't tell you exactly who. It's just crazy. Just crazy. And so it's more drama. And look, this is CNBC's homepage. Go to my iPad. Look at that. Starbucks earnings miss. Coffee chain says see momentum will turn around. Then you go up here. Snap plunges 13% on headwinds to start quarter. Inability to offer guidance. Super micro shares dive after server maker issues weak preliminary financials. I mean, we can go on and on and on, and you'll see how awful the economy is doing. So let's get into it with my panel. Joining me right now, Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney out of Los Angeles. Glad to have Joe on the show. Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA out of D.C. as well. Joe's from L.A., Mustafa's in D.C. Dr. Larry J. Walker, Associate Professor, University of Central Florida from Orlando. Glad to have all three of you here. I mean, I just sit here and listen to these folk lying. I mean, the man has screwed up left and right. He's tanked the economy. He's gotten Wall Street nervous. CEOs are constantly telling him, you know what, your tariffs are a pretty stupid idea. And he still keeps suggesting, Larry, that, oh no, that we're going to make so much from tariffs, you're not going to have to pay income tax again.
Yeah, tariffs are doing so well that Amazon, as we heard today, is considering put the price that you would usually pay with, I guess, a separate price that shows additional fees you pay because of all these tariffs. And I know, he's always talk about winning, but he's not winning in the United States economy, and Americans are not winning. And Roland, anyone who understands basic economics knew that this was going to happen. And if he continues along this path with tariffs and suggesting this is a way to stimulate the economy, then we're going to have a recession and then we're going to fall into a depression that we haven't seen since the Bush era. And so we can't, and listen, I've said on your show before, Roland, this is a few months ago, a lot of Americans voted for this. And for those of us who did not vote for this, we don't want to have to pay this additional surcharges for everything from cars to houses to clothes to buying food. And this is going to really hit a lot of his voters, particularly those in those rural, underserved communities who insist on voting against their best interests every single year. But you also talked about him backtracking on several of these tariffs. But the damage is done. And if he doesn't reverse all of them and show some kind of level of sanity, we're going to be in for a long haul.
Oh, absolutely. And again, what you're seeing is sheer chaos from this nutcase. And, they love just sort of making announcements that never pan out as well. I saw this one story here where the Pfizer CEO said tariff uncertainty is deterring further U.S. investment in manufacturing R&D. And so they can sit here and yell, holler, scream all they want how great the things are going, but that ain't the case from the people who actually hire. Mustafa?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Larry kind of broke it down for us, right? So we know that food prices are up. We know that housing prices are up. We know that car prices are up. And a number of other things, are becoming more expensive. But then we also know that 401ks and retirement plans are down. So when folks don't have disposable income, then companies that might be considering expanding or building in America, they understand that there's less disposable income. So they're going to probably not make those investments until they find some stability. I bring stability into our conversation because that's what the stock market wants. It always wants to have stability when they feel that, regulations are in alignment and when they feel that policies are in alignment, then more people dump money into the market. And therefore, wealthy people continue to make money. When folks don't have that stability and the policies that these economic policies that they put forward have not created any stability, what it has created is chaotic situations. You are much less likely to have folks wanting to build in America. So, they continue to sort of, send these pipe dreams to folks. And because most folks don't have enough time to slow down and actually take a look at economic policy, to actually take a look at the numbers, they just believe what folks say there on the White House from the press office, instead of actually being able to understand that we are in a very dire situation. But it is a dire situation that this administration created, because actually one of the, our nation's best sort of economic situations was under the last administration, where they were creating jobs, they were creating stability, so forth and so on. So we've just got to make sure that when people are saying things, that we are actually ground truthing them, both in the reality of when you're going to the grocery store or when you're trying to pay your rent or your mortgage, but also in those unbiased places that share the reality economically of what's happening across our country.
You know what? I get a kick out of all this talk, Joe. Donald Trump is going to lower egg prices. Really? This is what it looks like. That doesn't look like egg prices are lower. Looks like they're kind of high.
Yeah, and that's not the only thing that's higher, right? Prices are higher all around. Everybody else has said what I would say. Basically, the markets thrive on stability and even certainty. Companies that want to invest, that want to do things, that want to do R&D, if they feel like they have a deal with the president and then the deal goes away, they don't want to hire thousands of people or invest millions of dollars to have something change on a whim because of a personality issue. So even folks that are on the right side of him right now, which is interesting. I saw Candace Owens talking about how she was just amazed that the president is going against the First Amendment. Well, he does things that are unconstitutional all the time. And so for you to think that you're on the right side of him right now, to think you'll always be on the right side of him, you have to look at him sideways. And if you actually have to make decisions based on what he says with your pocketbook, that's going to make you more reticent, more hesitant. People are going to hold on to the money to the extent that they have it. You have basically higher prices and less money, and that's going to continue to perpetuate. And so what I think is that what folks are getting ready to find out, if they don't know it already, we haven't felt the brunt of the decisions that he's made related to the tariffs yet. We haven't felt it yet, not like it's going to come through in the next 3 to 6 months. We are really going to feel it, and we're really going to understand what happens when you say something and then you try to reverse it, but you have a market that thrives on certainty and stability, and your word's no good. If your word's no good, it's going to be a no-go. And so that's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with absolute craziness from this case. And again, his cultists, they believe everything is just wonderful, going along swimmingly. Yeah, but they got in for a rude awakening as well. Gonna go to a break. We come back. Lots to talk about. St. Augustine's, another lawsuit they are facing. We'll tell you about that and some other news. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
And this is a special episode that is near and dear to our heart, especially during Earth Month, where we're going to talk about how the environment impacts our everyday life and what you can do to help solve it.
The issue is that the movement has not historically created a connection with us and has had narratives that really speak to our unique lived experiences and the environmental burdens and hazards that we experience. So there's really a narrative shift that needs to happen for the mainstream climate and environmental movement to really position itself as one that is for all of us.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the Original T Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, another day, another St. Augustine's University lawsuit, this time coming from their former NBA player turned basketball coach, Clarence Chucky Brown. He claims that university terminated his contract without cause. Brown brought more than 30 years of experience as a player, coach, scout, and mentor. He played for 13 years in the NBA and spent 15 years coaching or scouting. Also played for the Houston Rockets as well. He holds a league record for playing on the most teams during his NBA career, having played for 12 teams. Now, court documents say Brown was fired in December. However, he's still listed as the head coach on the school's website. Here are other lawsuits SAU is facing: Howard Fagans versus St. Augustine's University, Management Professionals, Inc. versus St. Augustine's University, Victoria Lee de la Cruz versus St. Augustine's, SBA Connect, LLC, Avaria, Inc., and Clarence Brown Jr. versus St. Augustine's University. As usual, we contacted the university for a comment. They did not respond to our request. I mean, it just happens over and over and over and over again. And Joe, I'm sorry, if you're in a financial problem, last thing you need are more lawsuits.
Yeah, that's for sure. You need to start having some serious discussions. If you're in a financial problem and you know that there's potential for you not to be able to fulfill your obligations, or that you would be better off meeting someone halfway, what you don't do is go ahead and decide to fire them for a cause, because now there's a question as to whether or not the cause was actually there. What you ought to do is create a negotiation and come up with the best thing you can in the way of a win-win, so somebody can break wide and bounce if that's what they need to do. You're going to draw more bees with honey. And so now they have all of this potential exposure because of these lawsuits. Now, we don't know. We'd like to think that they have insurance or whatever else, and then they're just, paying whatever it is that they have to pay as a deductible related to that. But it doesn't make them look good. When you have to contract or get smaller the way that they have, slashing half your staff and all of these other things, your school's on the ropes to begin with. So you have to really do some things in order to be able to survive, unless you're just giving it all up. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be legally liable. That's why Chucky Brown, who I think played for the Lakers too, he played for everybody else. That's why Chucky Brown is taking his shot, and he's going to go down the road, and they're going to be in this litigation for a while.
Larry, it's just another day, another lawsuit, more drama, and it's like, oh my God, can y'all please put all this crap behind you? But no, you got dysfunction administration. You got the totally dysfunction on the board of the trustees.
Yeah, Roland, I serve on a board for an institution of similar size. And, every time I see something like this, obviously you talk about leadership, but hopefully they can get this resolved, because this is an important and historic institution that's been serving students for years. And I even know a few alums. So hopefully they can get this issue resolved. But this number of lawsuits, it taints the image of the institution. It makes it difficult to recruit students and faculty and staff. And it essentially, when we see institutions of similar size go through these, it kind of just wears down. And like I said, student population dwindles, faculty and staff, and then accreditation, among other challenges, really prevent the school from being rebounding and addressing some of the issues with the lawsuits you described, and some of the other challenges that they're obviously going to encounter in the future. I'm hopeful that, maybe they need a change in leadership. You talked about the board of trustees, you talked about the leadership, et cetera, other leaders at the institution. But this is never good when you see these several, lawsuits filed within a short period of time. And I'm quite sure there's some alum watching here who share the same concern. So hopefully this can get resolved. Some of these lawsuits can get resolved, and the institution can bounce back.
Look, they didn't even have 30 graduates, Mustafa. And let me tell you how bad this is. They put this press release here out. SAU received $132,000 from Alfred Street Baptist Church, wiping out debt for graduating seniors. And so this is the cumulative debt for 11 of the 25 graduating seniors in the class of 2025. And I'm like, 25 graduates, that's your senior class? That's called, y'all got some problems. I've never, again, man, I've done like 20 HBCU commencements. I ain't never seen a graduating 25.
Yeah, that's wild. We all want HBCUs to win. All of us have been affiliated with them in one way or another, whether teaching or attending or supporting. So that, that's where we start from. But, there are some of our institutions that have to do a much better job of fiscal management. And when you don't do that, we're focused right now on St. Aug's, but this is a broader narrative, because we understand when whether it is one of our businesses or our educational institutions run into problems, folks don't just look at that one institution. There is a broad brush that is often used, and the narrative that is created. And the reason that I raise that is because we currently have an administration that we're living under whom will utilize these types of situations and will say these are the reasons that we should not be investing additional dollars into these historic institutions, but they will say that we cannot handle the responsibility that is necessary. I hope that doesn't offend anyone, but we all know that they love to manipulate information and they love to cherry pick what they share and how they build policy around it or executive orders. So that's why I think it's incredibly important for us to make sure, one, that we are supporting our institutions, but we also have to make sure that they have the individuals on the boards who are going to make sure that they're doing the oversight that's necessary so that we can continue to make sure that they thrive. So when we see these types of things happening at St. Aug's, it's not something that happened just overnight. So we've got to make sure that we're tightening up so that we are prepared for the fights that are in front of us.
Oh, indeed, indeed. All right, folks, we're going to go to break. Can we come back? Saquon Barkley, running back for the Philadelphia Eagles, posted something yesterday on his Twitter page. Let's just say it caught my eye. And I got a couple of things to say about it. We're going to discuss that next. Folks, if you want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to cover the stories that matter to you. Support via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. Click the Cash App button to continue to contribute. You can also use this QR code for credit card processing. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. You can see your check and money order payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
On a next, A Balanced Life, we're talking about the stress of stress and trigger warnings, looking at those areas in our lives where we often don't turn the page or turn the corner, but giving us the ability to really take a deep dive and look at who we are, the people around us, and the ways in which we're triggered.
A lot of times we are so stressed out because we are trying to control things that are outside of our sphere of control.
That's all next on A Balanced Life on the Black Star Network.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered.
yesterday, the Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles were at the White House, and of course, they were there. The con man was there as well, celebrating them and taking digs at Taylor Swift, all kind of stuff along those lines. So that was going on, but you know what though? You had a few of the players who said, you know what, man, I ain't feeling this. And they didn't show up. They did not show up to the event. This here's a list of 15 Eagles players who did not show up: Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Darius Slay, Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Isaiah Rodgers, Jalix Hunt. And I say, great. I appreciate them having enough sense not to show up because they weren't having any of that. Oh, but Lord, guess who was just feeling himself, just having a ball? And that is Saquon Barkley. Oh, my goodness, y'all. In fact, he was just having such a good little old time. He was on the White House lawn, just sitting here, just having a ball, running routes with Ivanka's child, and they were just sitting here, just living it up. And so Saquon was just so happy, and give me 1 second, I'm gonna pull this up. He was just so happy just to be there, and let's see here. Here's a little video here of running routes, and Saquon was just enjoying himself, y'all, just having a time of his life on the White House lawn. And there was he took a little hit because he was. Let me go ahead and pull this up, y'all, so y'all can just see this here because. He flew from Philadelphia on Air Force One with Trump, and man, he was just so excited, just so happy to be in the presence with Trump, and look at him just enjoying himself, and just man, I'm here with Daddy Trump. I'm here with Daddy Trump. So that was Saquon. And them getting on Air Force One, and again, he's all happy. And then they took a photo in the Oval Office, and folk were talking about that and everything, and just how wonderful it was, and how it was just great to be there, all smiles and everything like that. But he also released a tweet because a few folks had some things to say. And so matter of fact, hold on before we do that. So here's Saquon and Trump with the Make America Great Again. Just Saquon, just excited to be next to the orange man. Just excited. So this is what he posted. But that wasn't the thing that got folk a little riled up. So Saquon saw people were saying, he posted this tweet, LOL, some people are really upset because I played golf and flew to the White House with the president. We need some grammar. Okay, maybe I just respect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. Just golfed with Obama not too long ago and look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now you get out of my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day. I think you may have an amazing day. So don't y'all find it interesting when somebody say, get out of my mentions with all this politics, when you the one kissing Trump's ass? You're the one going to the White House and how wonderful and great it is. And so go back to his statement. I love this line, maybe I just respect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. See, I find that line to be interesting, Saquon, because you say you respect the office, but you are hanging out, slapping backs with, and having yourself a grand little time with somebody who didn't respect the office. Remember January 6th? Remember January 6th? Remember what was happening January 6th? Remember we saw all of the protests going on? Remember we saw the beating of cops? Remember we saw then with the mace and all that? Remember all that? I mean, I'm sorry. You know what? Maybe Saquon was busy studying his playbook. Maybe that was happening. Maybe he missed, like, you know, these images right here. Oh, you know what? Oh, that's right, respecting the office. How about respecting the office when you claim that your election was rigged when everybody else didn't say that? How about that? How about this, Saquon? He was impeached twice. How about him being a massive liar? Does he respect the office with his treatment of women? Does he respect the office with his anti-black agenda? Please, Saquon, let us know how you feel. So, y'all, this is the problem when you have these grossly uninformed athletes. It ain't just him. Did y'all see the article? Did y'all see the article? Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard, y'all, this gonna make y'all crack up laughing. Terrence Howard said he was 100% down with Trump until he started deporting people. This is Terrence Howard talking to Bill Maher. Listen to this.
This is a country of snitches and bitches, and when they want to just disappear you, not to get off on a tangent about how Trump is like literally doing that to people now.
I was all in his corner, and that right there, that hit me. I was like, dude, you can't do that to somebody's family.
No,
you cannot do that. Bring them home.
Well, you just can't send American citizens or
out of the country,
out of the to a prison, and not just a. This is.
Wow, I was all in his corner until he started doing that. Fool! He told you last year he was gonna do that. Saquon Barkley and Terrence Howard, utter embarrassment. Utter embarrassment. Ill-informed, don't understand the issues. I mean, y'all don't say nothing about me. Y'all don't be mad at me. I mean, don't come talk politics on my feed, because I had a good time with Master Trump. I had a great time with Master Trump. I got to run around the garden with his grandkids, and I got to hug on his daughter, Ivanka. Ooh, it was great. Then you had that dumbass other Philadelphia player who said, ooh, I saw Ivanka. She's so beautiful. She's my type. Boy, do you need glasses? Did your contacts fog up? Oh, y'all, these black men are an absolute embarrassment. I mean, just embarrassing. Look at this fool, Eli Ricks. Donald Trump's daughter is beautiful. Damn. After seeing her in person, Ivanka is exactly my type. Oh, are we seeing the same person? I just sit here and listen. I get it. It's people, again, I respect the office. And I remember when Nelly would say the same thing. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, I cannot roll with somebody who constantly disrespects the office and then say that I should respect the office. Larry, when I was showing some of that, you almost came out your skin. Go on right ahead.
Just gotta acknowledge I'm from Philly, which means by birthright I'm a huge Eagles fan.
Uh-oh.
So Roland, listen, I was texting family and friends yesterday. because Saquon was getting cooked after helping my squad win a Super Bowl. But he's in the sunken place, brother. I don't know how else. I don't know what else to say about it. But you know what? If you follow Saquon's career, I follow him since high school. But if you followed him, for those out there, you're not surprised he said what he said. But it's disappointing to see black men perform like that. You know, we talk a lot about the challenging times we're in right now. And so when I see, you know, someone that's representing my city, my hometown, dancing like that, all the challenges that black folks are dealing with and will continue to deal with next several years, I have a serious problem with it. And like I said, he was getting cooked yesterday, and rightfully so by black folks, particularly black folks from Philly. We're not trying to hear that. Roland, as you well know, Philadelphia has a long history of black activism. So it is the wrong city for that nonsense. And I'm quite sure he'll hire some PR person, and you'll see within the next few months him come out. We'll talk about he's donating scholarship money to, you know, one of the local HBCUs or UNCF or something like that. You'll see something like that over the next couple of months. But he can't get it. He can't get back what he lost after being the Offensive Player of the Year and lead my squad to the Super Bowl. But I was extremely disappointed to see a brother doing that yesterday. So that's all I have to say as a Philly fan.
Joe, is this Saquon's new look right here?
Ooh. Oh, boy. And, you know, to remember what the character did in that movie was kind of crazy. So it's kind of one of those, if you know things. Go back and watch it, Jordan Peele's film, if you need to. But I think the problem here is that there's people such as Saquon in this particular situation. You just don't understand the moment that we're in. And maybe things have gone so well for you that you don't have to do that, or that you don't feel like you have to do that. But you're missing the boat when you feel like you ought to, despite the fact that the president himself does things that would suggest that his presidency is not normalized, that his representation, his work, whatever it is he's doing is not normalized. You would still overlook everything he's doing and or not doing and normalize him. You can say you're respecting the presidency, but what do you do when the president himself doesn't respect the presidency, right? And I give it up to Jalen Hurts, and I give it up to Devontae Smith, and you know, big players on that team, consequential players on that team, who have done what they've needed to do to at least not normalize the president in that moment. Now, there's more that athletes that have resources and that have influence can and should do. You recall back to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali back in the 60s. But, you know, Saquon wants to be OJ. Okay, you know, I guess. But maybe just like OJ back in the 60s, when it goes down in the 90s, maybe there'll be a moment when you'll need our support the same way. And I guess we'll just have to talk back then.
You know, Mustafa, I think this might be the quarterback room or the meeting room at the Philadelphia Eagles right here, as they try to figure out, like, Lord, what we got here. Because clearly he is impacted by the team right there. Just sound like a fool. You know, I respect the office. Yeah, but you with somebody who respects nobody. He has no respect for women. He has no respect for human rights. He has no respect for the law. And he's absolutely anti-black. But Saquon Barkley is up there just cheesing. Oh, I just cheesing.
Yeah, when I saw the picture of the brother, you know, with the dude who's sitting in the White House right now, the first thing I thought about was Get Out, because I was like, something done happened. This can't really be you. You know, somehow they done hypnotized you or something. And I thought y'all gonna bring up Clayton Bigsby, if you remember that Dave Chappelle character, because we got so many folks who continue to shuck and jive. You know, James Baldwin once said, "I can't believe what you say because I see what you do." So when I look at Jalen and I see him taking a stance, when I see some of those other brothers taking a stance, what they are also saying is that I understand what my brothers and sisters are going through who haven't had the same level of success as me. When you have an administration, as you said, Roland, that is anti-Black, there's no way of getting around that. When you put out executive orders almost on a daily basis and you make sure that you have language in there, not just talking about DEI, but talking about quotas and having all this misinformation and disinformation inside of them, that makes it sound like you all have done something significant for Black folks. And now they got to find a way to pull it back, knowing that in your first administration, you did absolutely nothing for Black folks. People will look at a little bit around some of the things they did about getting some folks out of prison and a little bit of dollars that they gave the HBCUs. But when you add that up next to, all of the things that you have now stripped away, your whole administration is about erasure of Black folks. Erasure, both in our history. We saw what they just did over the African American Museum. We've seen what they continue to do at all these different agencies and departments, erasing the successes and the work that folks have done. But at the same time, really getting down to the policy part of taking basic resources away from nonprofits and others who are focused on helping to build that safety net for our community and other communities. So for you to stand next to him, what you are saying is that I'm okay with that, because they're going to utilize your image to say, hey, you know what? If someone who played in the Super Bowl and who's this great football player can stand next to and support Trump, then everybody else should be doing it as well. And what it's also saying is that those sets of actions that his administration has done. And let's also bring into the conversation that they have a bunch of white nationalists who are a part of his administration, who are a part of the development of the policies that they're doing. What you are saying when you're standing next to him and smiling, whether you want to admit it was consciously or unconsciously, is that it is okay for you to do all these negative things to Black communities and other vulnerable communities. So you got to carry the weight now, brother, because you made the decision to enter into that space, and you gave away some of your credibility by being right next to him, putting your hand on his shoulder or whatever else y'all may have done. You've got to remember that our community should have demands, both of ourselves and of those who have been blessed to be in spaces and places that other folks aren't. Last thing I'll say is, because I don't just talk about stuff without actually living it myself. There have been administrations, Democratic administrations, who have invited me to the White House, and because they were doing things at that time that I felt were detrimental to our communities, I said I can't come. And here's the reasons why. And if you begin to move in a better direction, I'm more than willing to be able to step up and be in that space, take a picture or whatever it might be. But if you're not willing to do that, and why do I do that? Because my father raised a man, and a man who has to stand on principle. So, I'm sure this brother has done all kinds of other amazing things, and I hope he just has this moment as an ability to reflect and to say that, we don't represent everybody inside of our communities, but often when we are in front of cameras, we are what people see. So what we do matters.
And of course, Donald Trump stood there and lied. He lied. He told his story about how he called the New York Giants, told them, oh, don't get rid of Barkley. Go to my iPad. Giants denied Donald Trump's claim he told team to keep Saquon Barkley. We had no conversations with him. The team says there were no conversations between them and that fool. Just a liar. That's all he is. He's a liar, Larry. He's a liar. So Saquon Barkley, you are cool with rolling with a liar. And we all know you're a liar.
Yeah, it's like when it's like joining a group of con men, and you're surprised you end up in jail. He's really ruined his credibility. And even Roland, you talk about that story. I saw that yesterday when he made the comment, and then you said the show that the Giants said it wasn't true. But this is one of a lot of things that are not true that have happened during in the first 100 days of this presidency. We saw that a few years ago, and we'll see that for the next 100 days and next 100 days after that. A lot of statements that are not true. And once again, Saquon Barkley is basically, connecting himself with someone who's a hustler and a liar.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, y'all, got to go to a break. We come back. Ooh, Trump signed an executive order yesterday regarding law enforcement. And when I say this is absolutely anti-black, oh, it is. And we're going to unpack this thing. And trust me, y'all going to trip out to understand how far-reaching this is. That's next. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. It's a rare occasion when a course taught in high school becomes a topic of national conversation, let alone a burning controversy. But that's exactly what happened with Advanced Placement African American Studies, courtesy of a certain Southern governor who's taking offense. On our next show, we take you inside the classroom for an up-close look at the course through the eyes of the teachers that teach it, the students that are taking it, and the communities that surround them.
And so many of the kids we saw, the truth. And, it just impacts those kids in such a big way.
A master teacher round table on the next Black Table that you do not want to miss, right here on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, inflation is on the rise. Interest rates are high. Can you still thrive during these uncertain times? On the next Get Wealthy, you're gonna meet a woman who's done just that, living proof of what you need to do to flourish during these uncertain times.
These are times where you take advantage of what's going on. This is how people get rich or richer.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
And this is a special episode that is near and dear to our heart, especially during Earth Month, where we're going to talk about how the environment impacts our everyday life and what you can do to help solve it.
The issue is that the movement has not historically created a connection with us and has had narratives that really speak to our unique lived experiences and the environmental burdens and hazards that we experience. So there's really a narrative shift that needs to happen for the mainstream climate and environmental movement to really position itself as one that is for all of us.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
How you doing? My name is Mark Curry, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
I've consistently told y'all that this administration is absolutely anti-black. We have detailed this numerous times, how anti-black these folks are. We warned folk during the campaign that Donald Trump does not give a damn about black people. He doesn't care if cops beat people. He doesn't care if they maim people. He doesn't care if cops kill people, because he believes they can do no wrong. Now, remember during the campaign when Donald Trump said that he wanted to give cops 100% immunity? And folks were like, okay, you know what, all right, y'all making a big deal out of that. This really ain't nothing to make a big deal out of. Really, yesterday, this is the executive order that Donald Trump released. It's called Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and Protect Innocent Citizens. So then when you start going under, here he talks about, it's about safe communities, blah, 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 businesses that suffer because of crime, blah, 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 blah. But then right here you get to Section 2, the legal defense of law enforcement officers. The Attorney General shall take all appropriate action to create a mechanism to provide legal resources and indemnification to law enforcement officers who unjustly incur expenses and liabilities for actions taken during the performance of their official duties to enforce the law. This mechanism shall include the use of private sector pro bono assistance for such law enforcement officers. Now, let me stop right there. See, you now may be asking, Roland, I'm confused here. Don't they have immunity? Oh, they have qualified immunity? Don't you already have law? No. This is Trump saying we're going to provide legal counsel for y'all. And remember when Trump extorted the money from all those law firms? When he signed those illegal executive orders and they agreed to do pro bono work for whatever causes he wants, he is going to tell Pam Bondi, hey, go to those law firms that I've already extorted and they gonna work for these cops for free. That's literally what he's saying. Go back to the rest. Go back to the. Then it says empowering state and local law enforcement. They're going to sit here, expand access, prove training, increase pay and benefits, strengthen and expand legal. Strengthen and expand legal protection for law enforcement officers. Blah 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 blah. Using national security assets for law and order. He wants to use the military. You see this Department of Homeland Security, holding state and local officials accountable. You see this here? Look, y'all love this one. Willfully and unlawfully direct the obstruction of criminal law, including by directly and unlawfully prohibiting law enforcement officers from carrying out duties necessary for public safety and law enforcement. Boom, right here. Unlawfully engage in discrimination or civil rights, or civil rights violations under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that restrict law enforcement activity or endanger citizens. Keep going. You see this here? All these things they're going to do. Folks, I want y'all to understand something. In the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, hundreds of people are resigning because they are gutting the DOJ Civil Rights Division. That means Ahmaud Arbery. That means Eric Garner. That means, we can start naming all these cases. Tyree Nichols. Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin pled guilty to federal charges in the death of George Floyd. I'm telling y'all right now, Donald Trump is saying the DOJ is out of the business of prosecuting cops. He pardoned 2 officers in D.C. who were convicted of their involvement in the death of a black man. When he came back in January, pardoned them. Those 2 cops are now back on the police force. We interviewed the reporter last week about the case of the LA deputy sheriff who brutalized the black woman who was recording an encounter. He was found guilty. Trump's U.S. attorney, hey, Judge, can we review this? Give us 3 months to review the case? Judge said, no, he's going to be sentenced on May 19th. Watch. I guarantee you within 10 days of the sentence being handed down, Trump is going to pardon him. What we are now seeing, we are now about to see a level of brutality that is being absolutely authorized by the Oval Office. Val Demings, former police chief, former law enforcement officer for decades, former member of Congress. She joins us right now. Glad to have you back on the show.
Roland, it's good to be back with you. I wish it was under different circumstances, but every day things just seem to get crazier and crazier, as I'm sure you know.
This is a dangerous executive order, and this is an executive order. It is targeting black people. It is targeting civil rights attorneys, and it is saying to law enforcement, do whatever you want, I got you.
You know, Roland, what's so amazing about this order, and look, everybody, whether you voted for Trump or not, shouldn't be surprised at some of the lawless, unhinged, chaotic, crazy foolishness that we see coming out of the Oval Office every day. But in the executive order, when in the title it talks about unleashing American law enforcement officers, and you know, Roland, I spent almost 3 decades in law enforcement. It was a job that I loved because I felt like working with my community. It was, we were making a difference. But this is about dividing communities. And I am just praying that local sheriffs and police chiefs, our law enforcement leaders, don't fall for it this time, because the bottom line is Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about law enforcement. I think he demonstrated that on January 6th. Look, I was there. I witnessed it. I know he sat in the White House staring at the TV for hours doing nothing while police officers were being beat down by his supporters. I think he basically called it a beautiful thing. But he doesn't give a damn about law enforcement officers. But we do know that he's in trouble right now. That 39% approval rating is bothering him, and we know what he does when he's in trouble. He pulls something out of, well, I won't go there, but, and usually racism and sexism are the go-to things. And you're absolutely correct. As I'm reading this executive order, and I get to law enforcement basically should not spend time on DEI programs. And more time on. Like, how the heck did that get in there?
Right.
Because the bottom line is, look, they're going to work every day trying to reduce crime for the most part. And the truth of the matter is, violent crime all over the nation is down right now. That they need to keep working at it every day. But what sparked the sudden interest in Donald Trump suddenly falling in love with law enforcement again and pulling out the isms?
Yeah, but it's not recent. This was May.
Yeah.
Folks, this was May. This was almost 1 year ago to the day. Listen to this.
We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job. We'll take over the horribly run capital of our country, Washington, D.C., and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital city so that it's no longer a nightmare of murder.
See, he doesn't.
And Roland,
go ahead.
Look, it's 4 years, though. My point is, on January 6th, the lawlessness that took place at the Capitol when the president could have done something about it, he did nothing and he said nothing. And isn't it interesting that now, the last year, he is suddenly so interested in let's protect, let's do something, let's look out for law enforcement. And it's interesting, too, that nowhere in his order does it say wrongdoing or violating policies or violating the law. Nowhere does it say those things matter.
No, it doesn't.
Executive order.
No, but he doesn't. He doesn't care about victims. He doesn't care about somebody who's been brutalized or maimed or killed. He doesn't. His whole deal is, hey, y'all deserved it. That is his belief. Remember, this is the same guy who called for the death penalty for the then Central Park 5, now the exonerated 5.
And it's amazing as I read it. Increased pay and benefits we know he believes that everybody can be bought. I mean, we know he believes that. And now here he goes with the buzzwords, right? Increased pay, increased benefits. Oh, we're going to give you extra legal protection. And like I said, nowhere does it say whether they were engaged in criminal activity or violation of policies or laws, because he believes that law enforcement can be bought. And Roland, they cannot solve crime without trust and a relationship with the communities. And that's why I'm hoping that through these turbulent times, Donald Trump has clearly showed us who he is. It's amazing. The most recognizable criminal in the world suddenly wants to pretend to be all about law and order. And I'm certainly hoping that police chiefs and sheriffs will not fall for his foolishness, because regardless of what the federal government says they're going to do or not do, local law enforcement cannot solve crimes without a relationship and trust and cooperation in those local communities. And I do believe that the overwhelming majority of law enforcement officers do want to solve crime.
But here's the problem. We know for a fact that he is playing to the crowd. And look, Congresswoman, we got to admit, it's a whole bunch of right-wingers in law enforcement, and this is music to their ears. We've had, every time something happened, I've seen cops in Baltimore and Chicago, oh, our morale is down. Look, I remember Jeff Sessions, his first attorney general. Hey, we're going to pull back on these consent decrees because the morale of our cops is too low. And Barr saying the same thing as well. Now, the reaction should be, if you are in the wrong and you beaten a citizen, you got to go. No, but there's that blue line is just blinking in a huge way. And Trump is saying, I'm going to let y'all do what y'all want to do.
And Roland, I spoke to a group of law enforcement officers recently. And what I said was that you have to be, because you are the most visible symbol in every community. And you have to work hard to be the most visible symbol of honesty, decency, and integrity, and have a message that everybody counts, but everybody's accountable, and treat people with dignity and respect. Look, as a police chief, I didn't want bad apples on my police department, and I did everything that I could do to reward the good officers, but to get rid of the bad officers. And so you're correct. The president's actions, which he obviously doesn't care about law and order, we know that. But he's sending a message to bad cops that don't worry about it, do whatever you want to do, it doesn't really matter, I got your backs. And that is that will be a disaster, as we well know, in communities all over this country.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, go to my iPad, Anthony. I remember this. This was in L.A., where this guy was just sitting there asking the question. Boom, cop just punches him in the mouth. Okay, you know, and we've seen these actions. We've seen what has happened. Yesterday we talked about a Spokane, Washington, black guy, you know, wrongfully targeted, handcuffed, arrested. Now he's suing. We talked about the case out of Alabama, and in fact, you know, we were talking about another story. We were talking about this one. Like, here's a perfect example. A judge in Morgan County, Alabama, ruled that former Decatur police officer Matt Marquette cannot claim self-defense in the killing of Steve Perkins, an armed black man shot and killed in his own front yard in September. It clears the way for Marquette to stand trial for murder in June. The shooting took place during a late-night attempt to repossess Perkins' truck. Marquette and other officers showed up with a tow truck, but under Alabama law, police aren't allowed to assist in repossessions without a court order, and there wasn't one. Instead of announcing themselves, the officers hid in the yard. When Perkins came outside with a gun, Marquette yelled, "Hey," and fired 18 rounds in under 2 seconds. Judge Charles Elliott called Marquette a trespasser and said no reasonable officer would have opened fire under those circumstances. Now, he's going to get prosecuted under state law. Donald Trump is saying, DOJ, we ain't pursuing nothing. We're not going to pursue any charges against this officer. If anything that involves on the federal level, Donald Trump saying, hey, y'all good. Don't even worry about it.
You know, Art, I mean, the really sad part about this really is, you know, there's been a lot of work done all over this country with the community, police officers, police departments working hard to improve the relationship between the police and the community. And now we have a lawless president who certainly doesn't give a damn about that relationship. He doesn't have a good relationship with the truth. He doesn't really care. I think he's demonstrated, we're listening to it every day. He doesn't give a damn about what happens to black and brown people in this country. And now he wants to use the tool of law enforcement for his benefit to really push and support his racist policies. He can only do that with the cooperation of those police executives. And I'll say it again. I am hoping that they would step up, because you know what? What do you want to be known for? What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want the good police officers in your agency, when they leave the station every day and go out in that community, what is the kind of environment that you want to create for them to have to face and deal with? And so Donald Trump, look, he could care less about law enforcement. He could care less about black and brown communities. He's going to pull out the isms, racism, sexism every time he gets in trouble. And he doesn't care who loses their life or is seriously injured in the process, because it's all about Donald Trump protecting Donald Trump.
Yep, it's as simple as that. It's sad, and I mean, we're going to be talking to defense attorneys, and we just got to understand, these people, he doesn't care. He does not care about victims. He does not care about a regular, ordinary citizen And this is also why, Congresswoman, I've called out these black maggots. I've called out Pastor Darrell Scott. I've called out Sharice Lane. I've called out David Harris Jr. and Brandon Tatum in the Cartier family, Joseph Pignon, all of these black conservatives. I'm like, when y'all are sitting there cheesing, Michaela Montgomery, all of y'all, Angela Stanton King, y'all talking about what's anti-black? No, they're not, because they just happen to be some Negroes sitting in a room. And I've said it. There used to be I still know, they still exist, but there used to be real black conservatives. Senator Ed Brooke, who stood up and fought members of his own party to break the filibuster for the Fair Housing Act. There are numerous other black Republicans, but they are quiet. And these are absolutely anti-black executive orders that this man is initiating.
And you know, Roland, again, regardless of what table you sat at or what party you are in, because I remember good, decent black conservatives as well. But how could you ever sit in a space or in a room or at a table and forget the people who suffered, bled, and died for black people to have a better life in this country? How could you ever forget the images of my former friend and colleague, John Lewis, on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, who had his skull cracked because he was trying to help every person to be able to vote. And so,
you know, that was police brutality. See, nearly every riot in the 60s, if you go back to the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, the 20s, 1919, nearly every race riot was instigated. It was a police action that was the case. The Kerner Commission report talks about that. I mean, you could just understand the history, this relationship, and to your point, you've had folks who made the effort, community policing. I think about Lee Brown. I think about others who understood how we must relate to the community. And I just listen. Donald Trump ain't got no respect. Congresswoman, this actually happened. The first time he was there, so when they have these meetings, so the president, whoever's the president, typically meets with television anchors and reporters. So I got invited to 3 of them under Trump. I got to 2. And Chicago came up. And he was complaining that, well, when Ron visited me, Ron was talking about education, economics. He was like, Ron, that's not the answer to crime. And I was like, actually, it is. I've talked to numerous police chiefs who will tell you that where there are high education and high income areas, it's the lowest crime in the city. They all go together. So he's talking, and he says that when they were going to the airport, he said he came across this really tough cop. He said, you could tell he means business. And he came to me and said, Mr. Trump, we can solve this crime problem in Chicago in 3 or 4 days. And Trump was like, this guy, you could tell he was just a really tough guy. So, you know, we passed his name on to Ron to be interviewed for the police commissioner. So he's talking about it. So I sit there and I go, well, what's your plan? This is no lie. This is what he said. He went, tough. I said, I'm sorry. Tough is a word. What is your plan? No lie, he said tough. I sat there, I was taking notes. I put my pen in I said, y'all can take it from here. That's literally his tough. Tough. This whole executive order is tough. We're gonna be tough on crime. The hell of it, it's tough, it's tough. It's all macho, it's all John Wayne, it's all just tough. That's all it is. It's tough talk, and he does not care about the outcomes of the people. Final comment.
And Roland, we learned decades ago, as you mentioned earlier, that every person who's interested in this area knows that if you want to reduce crime, then you have to address some of the social ills that cause decay in communities in the first place. Quality education, housing, dealing with mental health issues, making sure that regardless of what community or whatever zip code, that you're able to receive the best education, dealing with unemployment issues. That's the way you reduce crime. I'm not even sure what the president is talking about in terms of, or anybody that says, oh, the way to do it, the answer to it is toughness. How has that worked for us? And so we need a police department that can not only work with the community to reduce violent crime, but also a police department that has the compassion to treat every person with dignity and respect. By building that relationship, that is how you reduce crime. And so the president can come up with yet another crazy, chaotic, unhinged executive order. But I am prayerful that law enforcement executives will say, we're not tying ourselves to Donald Trump because where he goes, chaos goes.
Indeed, indeed. Congresswoman Val Demings, we certainly appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Good to see you. Take care.
Folks, going to go to a break. We come back. We'll chat with our panel about this very issue. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Please, folks, do us a favor and join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 fans contributing on average $50 each a year, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. If you want to contribute via Cash App, please use the Stripe QR code right here. You can also go to blackstarnetwork.com. If you want to send a check or money order, P.O. Box, make it out to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on A Balanced Life, we're celebrating all things mom. You know, your mother figure, your auntie, your grandma, your Mimi, anyone in your life who has taught you everything that you need to know about what it means to be a woman. You know, all those little sexy ways, all that attitude that you have, how to dress, how to speak to people, everything related to this person who has been so insightful to guide you, raise you, and steer you in the direction that you are now living. We celebrate moms and all their wonderfulness, and even our moms who oftentimes tell us like it is, girl, get yourself together. Yes, that mom. We love them all.
Nobody but your child can test your inner gangster, but you have to use the fruits of the Spirit and show that peace and patience.
And that's here next on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
And this is a special episode that is near and dear to our heart, especially during Earth Month, where we're going to talk about how the environment impacts our everyday life and what you can do to help solve it.
The issue is that the movement has not historically created a connection with us and has had narratives that really speak to our unique lived experiences and the environmental burdens and hazards that we experience. So there's really a narrative shift that needs to happen for the mainstream climate and environmental movement to really position itself as one that is for all of us.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now. Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching my brother Roland Martin Unfiltered as we go a little something like this. Hit it. It's real.
Folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joe, I'm gonna start with you. Anti-black. There's no other way. This is targeting defense attorneys, civil rights lawyers. This is saying, hey, cops, y'all got free reign to bust heads, maim and kill people, because we ain't gonna do nothing to you on the federal level.
Yeah, it's not protecting and serving. It's menacing and unleashing. That word startled me just like it did Congresswoman Demings. It is just crazy what it is that's going on right now. You talked about this case going on in Alabama, and fortunately that case is proceeding because the judge understands that what actually went on is a question of fact that the jury actually needs to decide. That's what's supposed to happen. But to your point, on the federal side, those cases will not be being brought at all. If he has his way, federal law won't support it, even though federal law and discrimination law is written with those that were discriminated against in mind. And police will be able to do what they want to do. They will be absolutely unhinged. Consent decrees are going. All of the things that oversaw from the federal government standpoint, things that state governments weren't doing, that state agencies weren't doing, that local agencies weren't doing, that county agencies weren't doing. This is not coming through some window and somebody pulling something out of the sky. We're not gaslighting people when we say that Black people are more likely to be killed by police than other people are. They're more likely to be discriminated against, certainly more than white folks are. And so therefore, we have to understand that this is going to be quite a time if the federal government stops being what it needs to be and it actually effectively turns discrimination law on its head, making assumptions and presumptions about white people, and particularly white males being discriminated against, and therefore, among other things, keeps certain things from being prosecuted, keeps charges from being brought, and keeps police officers from being sued and police departments from being investigated. And this is absolutely anti-Black because we're the ones that are affected the most by police officers doing the wrong thing. So by definition, it can only be anti-Black.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. And you see right here, Mustafa, the name of the executive order: strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. Well, how about protect the citizens from law enforcement?
Yeah, that's what it should have been focused on, but we know who we're dealing with, right? We also know, once again, the disinformation and misinformation. So instead of them saying, you know what, we know that in 2024, that violent crimes were down and property crimes were down. And yes, that doesn't mean that there is no crime, but there were programs that were in place that were actually helping to create a safer atmosphere, if we can say it that way. You had all these different types. You had the community violence intervention funding that was out there for the last administration. And you had the Justice Department was out there giving grants for mental health and addiction and victim support, all these different types of sets of resources. So I'm one of those folks, when I see these executive orders, people only pay attention to the right hand and not the left hand, right? So they put this stuff out there. For folks who really understand executive orders, they really tell federal workers and agencies how they can carry out existing laws. They don't make new laws. So I'm wondering, where in the hell is the folks on Capitol Hill? Why aren't you raising your voices? Because you're the ones who create you create the legislation and the laws that are out there. And then we've also got to make sure the courts are doing the right thing. So some folks have got to put some checks and balances in place on this individual. But the other side of it is that people are not paying enough attention to all these resources that are being stripped away that have actually helped us to be able to lower crime. So yes, we understand the intentionality, both in the language that's inside of these executive orders and even in the titles of what they're trying to project. But we also can't move into this hopelessness of saying, well, he can just do whatever he wants to do, because no, that's not the case. Now, of course, people got to stand up and push back, and we've seen the difficulty that many have had to be able to do that. But we've also got to bring forward, and this show has been great at highlighting the stories and individuals who are actually making real change happen on the ground, so that there is another narrative that's out there, because he frames it as that is a chaotic situation. When you go out your house, people are just popping off, they're running up, busting people in the head. And I'm not going to say that that doesn't happen in a small percentage in certain places, but that's not the reality that's out there. So many of us say, we want to make sure that we have community policing. We want to make sure that cops are doing the right thing. We understand that when you pick up the phone, you want to have somebody on the other end who's going to come and help. But we also want to make sure that a part of that equation is all these other programs that are so critically important in helping to create healthy and safe communities. And if we don't bring that narrative forward, they certainly aren't.
Larry?
So if you read that executive order, anyone who's black, it should send a chill down your spine. And the other thing, Roland, you've talked a lot about today's 100 days in, and when you talk about executive orders, this is out of the authoritarian playbook, essentially shock and awe. And if you understand world history, this is not new. Consistently putting out these executive orders, many of them rooted in anti-blackness, focused on harming the black community, dismantling civil rights, civil rights initiatives, acts, etc., that have tried to level the racial playing field, so to speak. It's being done on purpose. I want to go back to this comment about the consent decree that was in the document. I was in Baltimore when Freddie Gray died as a result of police negligence, and what occurred after that, which was obviously one of many instances throughout U.S. history, and because of police negligence, that black folks ended up losing their lives. So the idea that you could revise and review it, even though Baltimore has seen a dramatic drop in violent crime over the last couple of years, due to the mayor's initiatives, Mayor Scott's initiatives, but also in addition to that, the consent decree that continues to help hold law enforcement accountable. Removing that might dramatically increase crime rates in Baltimore and other cities throughout the United States. As we highlighted, that violent crime is down. This is not about addressing addressing issues in underserved communities that are been around because of not proper investment. This is about maintaining a race-based caste system in the United States. And folks have to be paid very close attention, because once again, we know that every couple of months or a few weeks, et cetera, there's these cases where someone in the black community is harmed by law enforcement. So I would caution those who are watching to be very aware, because if this executive, we have this executive order, and then whatever policies they choose to push through Congress, if anyone in the black community is harmed, there is going to be some serious issues in this community and this country.
Yeah, it's just utterly insane. We're going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to hear from some defense attorneys about this. Trust me, they can hang it up. They ain't no reason for them to even call DOJ, because they're not going to do a damn thing. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. It's a rare occasion when a course taught in high school becomes a topic of national conversation, let alone a burning controversy. But that's exactly what happened with Advanced Placement African American Studies, courtesy of a certain Southern governor who's taking offense. On our next show, we take you inside the classroom for an up-close look at the course through the eyes of the teachers that teach it, the students that are taking it, and the communities that surround them.
And so many of the kids we saw, the truth. And
You know, it just impacts those kids in such a big way.
A master teacher roundtable on the next Black Table that you do not want to miss, right here on the Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
Chris Spencer, yeah, I'm repping the alpha stuff right here with two of the alphas on the show. You're just mad that you couldn't get in because the grades were not high enough. There's some other little youth groups you can apply to. All right, y'all. We're talking about, again, this Trump executive order unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. In just a moment, we're going to be talking to Harry Daniels or Darrell Washington, both, of course, defense attorneys, very prominent, involved in a lot of these cases. We reached out to Ben Crump. He's actually in Africa. He's in Ghana. And so, and I'm telling y'all, don't even, this executive order, it's about black people. It's about all of these cases of black people being shot and killed, brutalized, beaten, harmed by cops. And Donald Trump is saying, yo, I'm good. He's saying, I got the back of all of these cops. I'm gonna do whatever in the world they wanna do. And he is going to just give them massive amounts of immunity. It's as simple as that. That's what's going on right here. And he said it. And again, see, this whole deal, oh, morale is back. I'm glad. That was one of the stupid comments you heard Bill Maher say. Oh, I'm glad to see that the morale of cops is back. I'm like, man, y'all serious? Come on. Police hate accountability. They hate it. They hate being held accountable. And now they have somebody who is going to let them do whatever it is they want to go to. All right, folks, we have Harry Daniels ready. All right. All right, let's go live to Harry Daniels. Harry, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Roland. How you doing?
Darrell Washington, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Roland.
All right, now we got, now we see, this is about to be a party. We got 4 alphas on here. What's that little youth group you in, Harry?
It don't matter. Y'all can have like 8 versus 80. You know what it is. Let's talk about it.
Oh, you know, if it's one of us, it's 8 of y'all. It's unfair for y'all. So, but you know, but it's just a lot of black and old gold excellence right here. Let's get right to it. This executive order, Darrell, is absolutely anti-black. And what Donald Trump is saying, if any family hires y'all for one of these cases involving police abuse, don't even call the Department of Justice, because we're not going to be on the side of any of those families. We're going to be on the side of cops.
Hey, Roland, this is something that, man, we are not surprised by at all. You know, you talked about this prior to the election, and this is something that we knew was going to happen. And I will tell you, since this election, Roland, we have seen the change, not only with some of the noise that Trump is talking right now, but with some of these rulings that we're getting from the court. You can clearly see that things have changed and things are going to get bad. Now, you know, we talk about this, Roland, but I just really don't believe people understand how serious this is. I mean, because basically what has happened now, basically police officers have gotten a free pass to use deadly force, and that's scary.
Harry?
Yeah, I agree with Darrell. You know, a lot of these things is happening. You know, you see these ramped up police executions and dealing with deporting people. And not just that, dealing with officers feel like they are immune, not just from prosecution, but immune from the law in any aspects. And this order that Trump passes, that he signed an executive order, one of the biggest things that I saw that I'm trying to figure out how he's going to enforce an order locally on local municipalities and local governments in order to pay for liable officers for their expenses. And Roland, we're talking about
liable officers. He used the word unjustly prosecuted, or or whatever the case may be, for misconduct during their official duty. Well, if you go through the justice system and a jury find you liable, then you're not unjustly prosecuted. You're justly prosecuted for your acts. But he's putting the responsibility on these local governments or these municipalities to pay these jury verdicts or settlements. One place that we see this at is in Colorado, but the Colorado legislature did it so people who are victims of police misconduct have some type of redress or recourse on some type of monetary adjustment, justice, where a city or municipality, county government has to pay the verdict with the exception of punitive damages. But here in this case, I believe it's been weaponized in a way to give law enforcement a free pass, not just from criminal prosecution from the Department of Justice, but also civil prosecution as well.
I mean, he's saying right here, Daryl, that I am directing the Attorney General to create a mechanism for legal resources to go to cops. Go to my iPad. It says it right here, to provide legal resources and indemnification to law enforcement officers who unjustly incur expenses and liabilities for actions taken during the performance of their official duties to enforce the law. This mechanism shall include the use of private sector pro bono assistance for such law enforcement officers. The shakedown that he did of all those major law firms, he's going to go to them, hey, y'all got to defend these cops.
And Roland, let me tell you, first of all, when you read what Trump is really saying, it makes no sense whatsoever. Because first of all, most police officers are not incurring any expenses. Most of them are being represented by the municipalities. So I really don't know what he's talking about from that end. But one of the things that's going to be really dangerous is now he's calling on a lot of these private firms that are going to come in and assist these police officers. That's the problem that we're going to be faced with right now. But, we look at what Trump is putting into law right now, Roland. It goes a little further. The state of Texas now, what they're saying is police officers are not going to be criminally liable for acts that happen while they're in the course of their duty. That's very dangerous because what that is saying is that we have said all along that when Amber Geiger killed Botham Jean, she was on duty. When Roy Oliver killed 15-year-old Jordan Edwards, he was on duty. But if you read what Trump and what these state governors are now saying is that if somebody is killed while the officers are on duty, there's not going to be any criminal liability. And that's the thing that is very scary.
Yeah, and we live in a perfect world and rightful use of force was there. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. And the people that's on the other end of these unlawful shooting, killings, and brutality is people of color. So when you hear these type of things and you giving these hall passes to basically, like Daryl said, if you kill somebody on duty, then there's no redress, there's no criminal prosecution to go for. That emboldens an already emboldened officer. I worked in law enforcement for a short period of time. And one thing I don't recall doing to have a psychological test. Thank God that I wasn't one who's had issues, but I saw officers who had major issues. So if you give them the ability to evade some type of criminal prosecution, you've given them a key to all doors of injustice. The bottom line is this, and Daryl hit the nail on the head. This thing has been eroded for years. When I say it's eroded, the protections, the federal government, you got to think about it. In the 60s, the Department of Justice, the government was the one who would come in to ensure rights are protected. At this day and time, you got civil rights attorneys who work for the Department of Justice, and I know some of them. I probably know they have no idea what to do here, what to say, and they're being utilized in a manner that's inconsistent with oath they have taken, and it's a very sad day.
No, and Harry, just to echo something that you're saying right now, when you look at some of the other things that Trump is doing, we have looked at consent decrees that the Department of Justice have worked on so very hard to try to get a lot of these police departments in line to make sure that they're doing certain things that not going to put people in. at harm. And what Trump is now saying is all these consent decrees that are now in existence, basically, they're no longer going to be any good. So again, this guy is coming along and he's basically empowering police officers, Roland, and it's very scary. I mean, I'll be honest with you, because all these police officers have to do now is be on a dark road one evening and say that this individual was trying to harm me and I had to use deadly force. And there's nothing that you can do about it. And I think people ought to be afraid. We've said this years ago that people should have major concerns, but what's going on right now today, people should be worried. People should be concerned.
Yeah, they absolutely should. And I just don't, I think one of the reasons why we wanted to give this much attention, because we've covered a lot of these stories. We've covered these cases. And a lot of times when local DAs did not do their job, lawyers like yourself will be able to say, hey, we're going to call on the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division to investigate this, to pursue hate crimes indictments. Donald Trump and Pam Bondi is saying, hey, y'all can lose our number. We ain't talking to none of y'all.
Yeah, yeah, but you know, Roland, the wind may blow, but the tree gonna still stand. Midterm elections are coming, and another election is coming. So I hope the people realize and see what's happening, all the things that's happening across the nation. The federal employees who voted for Trump find themselves in the unemployment line, if there's any employment line remaining. And at the same time, we have to keep in mind that everything Donald Trump said he was going to do, he did it.
Absolutely. And Harry, one of the things I know you and I talk about this all the time, and Roland, we know that things are bad right now, but you have attorneys like myself, Harry Daniels, Ben Crump, attorneys who are fighting these cases. But what I want to say to the listening audience, Roland, and this is something that we have to talk about every single time we discuss these issues, it is going to be very imperative now that when we have the opportunity to sit on juries, Black people, to serve on juries, that we're going to have to do every single thing to make sure that we're not eliminated, because we will need to make sure that these juries are diverse. Because right now, Roland, in some of these little small cities, these cases that you really don't hear much about, these people, Black people, are not given a chance. And we have to really change that narrative. So we know right now Trump is against us. We know that the Department of Justice is against us. So it is very imperative on us to stick together and try to figure out a way to make change to this judicial system, because we are going to need it.
Yeah, absolutely going to need it.
Hey, Roland, think about this. A felon represents the Department of Justice. He's over the Department of Justice.
That's scary.
That's what we in right now.
Well,
felon convictions run the Department of Justice.
Well, you have that.
That's the oxymoron I've ever heard of one.
And then you got Attorney General who spends more time on Fox News than she does at the Department of Justice.
Yeah. Let me just exactly.
So,
but. Roland, we need to pay attention to this. We posted, I know Harry talks about it all the time. We're going to talk about it in Chicago at the National Bar Convention. Yep. But Roland, people need to pay attention to what's going on. I know there are a lot of other issues that are going on in the communities, but what you are talking about today is so very important. Because if they continue to pass these laws, I know they have one similar in Louisiana right now. Texas is about to pass a new law as well. If this continues, Roland, at the pace that is going on right now, as hard as we working, there would be no need for civil rights attorneys when it comes to police brutality, because our hands are going to be tied. We have fought for, we have fought for justice for so very long, to only see Donald Trump come in and take all the progress that we've tried to make, and he's putting us back years back.
Indeed. All right, gentlemen, Daryl Washington, Harry Daniels, I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night, man.
Folks, when you start looking at, so here we are 100 days. And I don't give a damn about the 100 days, because, hell, the 99th day ain't no different from the 101st day. This stuff harkens back to FDR, talking about what he was going to do in the first 100 days. So the media runs with this constantly in terms of this 100 days, what has the president done? The fact of the matter is, what we are seeing here is a consistent attack on black people. It's an attack on black people. It's an attack on human rights. It's an attack on regular, ordinary people. Adam Sir of The Atlantic, when he talked about cruelty is the point, that's exactly what it is. It is about cruelty. It is how they treat people. And what you're seeing, and here's what's crazy, Mustafa. When you think back, look at all of these other countries that have beat back fascism. You just saw the Canadians pick the head of the Liberal Party versus the Conservatives. We've seen this in France. We've seen it in Germany, on and on and on. It's only one country that chose fascism, America. Mustafa?
Yeah, well, that is true. And the question becomes, do you learn from your scars? Do you try and hide your scars? And do you pretend like your scars isn't there? And that's been something that America has never wanted to deal with. And because it has never wanted to deal with the sins of the past and the present, it continues to create these opportunities for those who fit the narrative to take office and to lead. So that's what we find in this particular moment. And then turning over power. My grandmother always says, and folks have heard me say this before, when you know better, do better. I continue to wonder when America is actually going to do better consistently, right? So, you have a President Obama, and then you find the pushback that happens with that. Then you'll take another step forward, and then you'll have somebody comes in that pushes you 3 steps back. America has to finally make a decision about, does it want to be a 21st century America or does it want to be a 19th century America? Because in the policies that have been put forward and the sets of actions around erasure and everything else looks a lot like, the 1860s and 1870s. People often want, talk about, the things that happened during Jim Crowism. Well, yes, because that's what we're seeing play out right before our eyes now. So, as the brother just said just a second ago, we've got the midterms coming up, and then you've got the elections in 2028. But there's a lot of damage and a lot of bad that can happen before those particular moments happen. And that's why we've got to come together as community and protect and uplift each other.
Absolutely. Joe?
Yeah, this is everything's harder now. The civil rights fight is never easy to begin with, but it becomes more difficult. And even I see in juries, in potential juries, less sensitivity. I see juries potentially sometimes being a little bit more sympathetic or more indifferent when there is a Trump-like boss or a sexual harasser, or those types of things. Jury's trying to be less sensitive when your client didn't lose their job, but they were on leave for a year to a year and a half. So it tries to change a lot of things in terms of how we approach cases, and we do have to read the room in terms of what it is that we're doing. But that being said, the fight is still the fight, and it wasn't taken on because it's easy. And even if it gets harder, it's still worthwhile. I'm reminded of my aunt, Josie Johnson, who is a civil rights leader who did things with Walter Mondale and Hubert Humphrey in the 50s and all of these other things. She always will tell us, well, darling, just stay optimistic, et cetera, because they saw people lynched. They saw things happen. And so they would never give up their optimism despite the difficulty. So and in fact, because of the difficulty. So we have to stay in the game. Whatever's happening, it is serious. These brothers that just talked about it are underscoring how difficult what we're doing is now and how much harder it's getting because of what Donald Trump is doing. And all that is true. And yet, as he said, the wind blows, but the tree's still going to stand. So we got to stay in there, but we got to be aware. Don't walk in the street and get hit by a car. Listen, you're walking in the street and the car's going 5 miles an hour. You're going to get hit if you're not cognizant of it. The car could be going faster, but if you know it's coming, you have a chance to get out of the way. So let's do what it is that we have to do and stay optimistic.
Well, I just want people to understand that what's going on here is real. It's real. And it cannot be overlooked. The last thing here, folks, The Alabama Bar Association has honored longtime civil rights attorney Fred Gray with a statue outside of their bar association. This is about 5 days ago. This is what the statue looks like here. Alabama State posted these photos here. This is the unveiling of the statue. You see Fred Gray there on the far right with his wife as the unveiling of the statue takes place. Of course, Fred Gray, legendary attorney. He, of course, Dr. King's attorney, Rosa Parks, and so many others. This is a man truly fighting for freedom. You remember in Montgomery, they named the street after him. They took the name down of a Confederate person. And the state of Alabama was a little pissed off. They fined the city, but folks stepped up and paid that particular fine. So that street's named after him. But this statue. So next time I go to Montgomery, I'll be sure to get a photo of that. I'm always about documenting, again, our statues. We've been inundated with Confederate statues all across this country. So it's great to be able to see things along those lines. So congratulations to Attorney Fred Gray. That's it for us. Joe, Larry, Mustafa, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, don't forget, stuff that we cover here, you aren't seeing other places. You aren't seeing black-owned media cover these things. And so it's critically important for you to support the work that we do. Of course, we don't do a subscription here. That was by design. I knew a lot of people could not pay a monthly subscription fee of $7, $8, $9, $10. So we purposely kept this show free. But your support is absolutely critical for us to do our work, for us to travel around this country, having town halls, covering news stories, being able to send crews out to things that happen here in the nation's capital. As I'm always saying, we don't have millionaires and billionaires cutting us checks. It's your support that is hugely important to our work. And so if you want to contribute, and what we do, of course, every Friday, we thank our donors. We run every single name of the 35,000 people who've donated to this show since we launched September 4th, 2018. So if you want your name on that list, you want to give via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App button to continue to contribute. You can also, of course, use this Stripe QR code for credit cards as well. Checks and money orders, please make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, not Roro, not Uncle, not Black Star Network, not Roland Martin, not Unfiltered. Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Of course, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available bookstores nationwide. You can also, of course, get our swag, get our t-shirts, mugs, hats, all that good stuff. You see our shirts. MAGA chose between woke or broke. They chose broke. Don't blame me. I voted for the black woman. And of course, FAFO 2025. Hashtag we tried to tell you. Go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. You can also use the QR code there as well. We want you to support the app Fanbase. Download the app if you want to invest. As part of the Series A crowdfund, go to startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now. Thank you for being the voice of Black America. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?